It's time to take back control, Mama. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of the most challenging aspects of parenting, especially if you have littles. That's right, we're going to be talking about establishing a toddler routine that works for you. And I do mean you plural, as in the both of you and your toddler. If you're a parent of a toddler like me, you know firsthand how difficult it can be to manage their ever-changing needs and behaviors. I mean, one day they might be eating and sleeping like a champ, and then the next day they might refuse to eat that same thing or anything and stay up all night. It can be full of frustration, exhaustion, and just downright overwhelming, especially if you have other responsibilities and commitments like, hey, a household, a job, other children, yes, a husband. All of us have that, right? But fear not. In this episode, my guest, Laura Hernandez from Mama Systems, and I will be sharing 3 tips for establishing a toddler routine that works for you and your family. So, Mama, whether you're a stay-at-home parent, a working parent, or even a single parent, these tips are designed to help you take back control of your time, your energy, and quite frankly, your sanity. We'll be answering some of the following questions. Why is having a routine important for toddlers? And what are some common challenges that parents face when establishing a toddler routine? How can you specifically tailor your routine to your own little's personality, temperament, and developmental stage? And lastly, how can you make adjustments when something's not working for you? By the end of this episode, I promise you'll have a better understanding of how to navigate the ups and downs of toddlerhood and create a sense of predictability, stability, and comfort for both you and your toddler. So without further ado, Mama, let's dive in. Help is on the way. Hey, Mama, welcome to the Energized Mama podcast. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or are you Googling how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and defeated when you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyanne. I too was an exhausted mom away from the help of my family. I too felt constantly drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, a mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give myself and my husband, to discipline my kids confidently, and incorporate faith into our home. All the things, right? But I kept telling myself that I couldn't do it feeling this exhausted and without a community supporting around me. Until I found a healthy balance and endless energy in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find that too. You will find time and energy boosting tips and tricks, guidance for disciplining your littles, and what to do when you have no help so that you will find balance between all your roles. Stop feeling drained and learn to trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to get your daily energy boost. I've got you, Mama.
Well, hello there, beautiful. Yes, Mama, don't you dare turn around and look at who could I be talking about, because I am talking to you, the beautiful woman that you look at every single morning in the mirror. And if you don't feel like that today, that's okay. That's what I'm here for. And that's what my guest is here for you today, because sometimes moms, we just don't feel beautiful because, well, we just feel exhausted, right? And we can feel really overwhelmed with all of our decisions we have to make on an everyday basis, not just for ourselves, but for all the littles in our home. And I know firsthand, as having a little man who at the time of this recording is turning 3 tomorrow. I can't believe it. But I have a little toddler, I have a teen in the house, and I have one who's coming. So I know that so often the only way that I'm able to really thrive instead of survive in my own house is by establishing some kind of routine. And yes, some of you have shared with me in my private Facebook group and some reviews I've been getting lately that kind of almost taste a little bit like a swear word in your mouth. Oh, routine. Oh gosh, I don't know if I like that, or what do I do and how do I begin? So I totally get you and I understand. And I think sometimes with routines, we can complicate them. Or if I'm at least talking for myself, we can make them something that doesn't actually serve us. It's almost something that can feel like it's going to set me up to fail. And so I understand you, Mama, and I hear you. And that is why I brought on a very special guest today, because routines and systems are her thing. This is something that she has learned to master in her own home, but also helps so many other mamas do the same. Who am I talking of? Well, I'm going to let her introduce herself here very shortly, but I have got to share with you that I am such a huge fan of this woman. Since I first connected with her a few weeks ago, I knew that I had to get her on this podcast immediately because I know that she has some good, amazing advice and a good word from God to share with you guys. So, without further ado, I am so happy today to share with you ladies and introduce you to Mrs. Laura Hernandez. She is a mama of 10. Yes, ladies. And her heart's passion, desire, and the goal of her business that God has helped her create is that she wants to help moms just like you, just like me, bring peace into our homes by creating customized systems. So again, without further ado, here is Mrs. Laura Hernandez. Laura, thank you so much for joining us here at the Energized Mama podcast today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And I can only imagine as a mom of 10 that you know a thing or two about routines. And of course, maybe you got there by making some mistakes, because I think that's how all of us learn, right? And so I want to know if you could share with the mamas today, like first and foremost on the podcast, like maybe the ones that are a little scared of having a routine, right? Because sometimes routines can feel really overwhelming or just boring. What would you say are some of the benefits of establishing a routine in your household?
Yeah. I I have seen the beautiful fruit of it being that my kids know what to expect. I think our
Mm,
kids thrive so much on just knowing what they're walking into. And so when they come home from school and they have a snack at the table or whatever that is, they know what to expect. They know what they're getting when they walk in, and they know just from the moment they wake up with our little ones, what's going to happen next. And that routine just builds so much trust in you, because if I can trust that I'm going to walk in and have a snack on the table every day when I get home from school, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you to feed me. You're taking care of me. You're meeting those needs. And so just having those little connections like that of routine and you showing up and kids expecting and you showing up, like what a beautiful way to build trust with your people from very early on.
exactly. It really makes a routine so much deeper, have such deeper value,
Mhm.
and so much more of an intention behind it than just, oh, it's going to be, about expectation, but it's also, wow, about building that trust, like you said so beautifully. And I know you painted the picture so very well of how it establishes, trust and a benefit for the child. But how would you say that routines benefit the mamas in this situation?
Ooh, it lessens decision fatigue. I mean, so often we as mamas are going from thing to thing and we're living such reactionary lives. And the things that we want to be doing, we don't even have time to do because we are just doing the next thing that pops up, right? Um,
Right.
I know with littler people that this is not necessarily a huge thing yet, but like going to soccer practice and then getting them from preschool and all the little things that you do throughout the day, doing laundry and then you have to feed people and then they want to go play outside and they want to go to the park. And then it's just very like you're just flitting all over the place. And so when you can create that routine, it brings you peace because you know what you're doing, right? You have a routine for getting things done around your house. You have
Yep.
decisions already made for you. Decision fatigue is anything that your brain is constantly having to make decisions for, right? And by the end of the day,
Yep.
you're just kind of done. And
Yes.
I mean, scientifically, it's a thing. Like they did a study on judges doing parole cases, and 70% in the morning were willing to give a prisoner parole, but only like 10% at the end of the day. And so you could kind of see the decision fatigue throughout the day. And I know that I feel this so often because by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm done.
Yep.
I just want to be in bed, do whatever you want. I don't care about bedtime anymore. Like, just go away and leave me alone. Right.
Exactly.
Maybe your mothers are so much better than that, but that's how I feel towards the end of the day often. And so um, having a lot of those decisions, like whatever decisions you can already have made for you, even that's waking up at a certain time and always just sticking with that time. Oh my goodness, it just lessens so much of that. And you're not constantly having to figure things out.
Yeah. And it's funny. I instantly, when you brought up the analogy of judges with parolees, I was like, oh gosh, how often do we sometimes feel like that? Feel like we've got these crazy people around us, right? And you want to make good judgments. You want to, I know so many of the moms that listen to my podcast, they do want to steward their children right, but right when we force it upon ourselves to make so many decisions, it almost becomes, I don't know if you've heard of this term. It's something I've heard a lot on social media lately, is analysis paralysis, right?
Yes.
Have you heard of that? Okay. It's just like when you have to analyze a situation and then thus make a decision, it is almost like you're paralyzed. Like you don't know what to do. Or like you said, Laura, so well, you get to the point where you're just like, I may know what I want to do, but I just don't have the energy, or I just don't want to make that decision anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a real thing. I have a lot of mamas that deal with that, that are just like, I don't even know what to do anymore. Like,
Right.
no clue.
Totally. And so mamas, if you're listening and you're there, just may the first point that you bring home today, or that you're wherever you're at listening, is just knowing you're not alone, that you're not a bad mom if you feel that way, because it happens to all of us. I would argue to say, whether we want to admit it or not. And so, Laura, you've painted such a beautiful picture of the benefits for not just the moms. I love that you painted for the children too, and then it builds that trust, and builds, it reminds me of like precept upon precept, as it says in the word of God, and like builds that trust that you can build upon with your children. So say our mamas are like convinced, like, okay, I get it, ladies, I want to do a routine, I do believe in them. What are some common challenges that you would say that when mamas decide, like, okay, I want to try out a routine, or I want to try this routine that I out online or something, and what do you feel like are some common challenges that mamas come up against when they try to establish a routine in their household?
I think that one of the biggest challenges is that you're trying on somebody else's routine. And that's a problem, because that's not created for you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's important that you create your own routine that works for you, because no other mama is like you. No other mama has your kids. No other mama has your schedule, your home, your personality, your giftings. Like, you are absolutely unique. Like, not being cheesy or anything. Like, you are just so unique, and how your household runs is so unique. And so we need to come up with a routine that works for you. And so I love, like, the first step of anything is to know yourself and to know what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Like, what
Yeah.
things are important to you throughout the day? What things do you want to get to? What things do you know have to get done? And then one of those things, if you can, delegate them out or eliminate them altogether, right? Um,
Yeah.
but having that assessing moment of, hey, you know what? I really want to spend time teaching my kids about the Bible. When am I going to do that during the day? Or, you know what? I really want to make sure I'm having dates with my kids every week. When am I going to do that? How am I going to prioritize that? Because we
Mhm.
can want those things all day long, but if we don't come along with a plan behind it, then it's not going to happen. Things don't just fall on our plates like
Like
magic
we
like that. Like,
like it would sometimes.
yeah, we have to make them happen. So creating that plan is kind of where we need to go next.
I love that. And it makes so much sense why what you do with your business, Mama Systems, is customized, because you made such a good point that we can follow all the mommy helper coach gurus out there. And some people have some really great advice, but you're right. There is definitely something at the end of the day that might not just feel right or may not work in our own lives, because you're right. It's nobody else lives in my household and nobody else has my children. And I know firsthand, just myself, but also by my own coaching clients, they share with me so much that they struggle with mom guilt, and it is a very heavy weight and a very heavy burden. And sometimes I know that the guilt comes from trying to keep up with everyone else and trying to do things and establish things the way other moms, or even our own moms, right? Like, that's a whole nother topic for another day, but our own parenting background and our own family and all of that too. So if, Laura, a mom, you would say, like, okay, let's overcome that challenge and let's create a system and a routine that works for you. How does a parent actually go about that? And I want to take it a step further, because here on the Energized Mama podcast, I'm really big about incorporating kids as much as possible, like working together, like teamwork, right? Like establishing that trust, as you said in the beginning. So, how would you say, at least where should a parent start to establish a routine, especially if they want to involve the kid when it's possible?
Yeah. So I love to find anchors throughout my day.
Mhm.
And for us, these are just things that everyone typically does during their normal day. That's waking up and breakfast and then lunchtime and then evening dinner time / bedtime, right? So we have those anchors in our day. And then I like to build routine from there. So for those who are wanting to be more free spirited and love to kind of fly by the seat of your pants, there's space for that. And we can know that and trust that this afternoon we can go to the park if we want, or we can go over to a friend's house if we want, or go play out in the yard. You can have those spaces in your day. But what is great about those little anchors in your day is that you can choose to be intentional with your people and with your time. So with your self-care. And so in the morning, one thing that I prioritize is just having a quiet time and spending time before children wake up, in the quiet and reading and praying and journaling and all of that. And so made that space in the morning before I have to get kids up, and then like obviously have to get them up and get them ready and all of those things. A lot of those tasks of getting them ready, we've given to them. Like my goal is to raise functional adults. And so even when they're 2, 1.5, we're encouraging like, hey, I want you to go pick out your clothes. We, make it really easy for them. If like, here are your shorts, here's your shirt. Like, so they know what to get and they can get whatever they need and bring it back downstairs. And then we can kind of help them get dressed, but we're really encouraging them to start getting dressed on their own and just starting very small and very baby steps of you're capable and you can do this,
Wow. Sometimes I feel like we need that for ourselves. Like, you're capable. You can do this, mama,
Yes. Absolutely.
our own haters there. And so, no, I love that. And something that the ladies may not know about you yet, listening, mamas, is when I first got to know Laura, I remember signing up for your email list and getting one of your free downloads. And one of them was, forgive me, I don't remember what it was called, but it was about basically establishing, like you said, anchors in your day, and then having, for lack of a better word, almost like chores, but tasks, like empowering tasks that children of all ages could do. And I was honestly shocked. There were a few that I was like, it was like an epiphany going off in my brain. Like, yeah, why am I doing that for my son? Or he can do it. And I started to apply some of these things. So I've been using your download in my own life. And it's been great to see where this little established routine that I put in our lives has actually freed up energy, has freed up peace in my life. And it also is amazing to see my little man, like my son also gets so encouraged and empowered. And I can see that trust there too, like, and seeing these boundaries almost being set too, and how he feels encouraged because he knows that he can do it and he feels empowered. And so that's also so much of the power of what you teach and of what we're talking about today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as he grows older, he's going to feel more a part of your family. And I love my older kids know very well that if their job doesn't get done, like nothing gets done. We're all interdependent on each other, right? And so when my daughter leaves the house without unloading the dishes first, my son can't rinse and load the dishes, and I can't clean the kitchen. So we're all kind of waiting on each other to do what we're supposed to do. And so it's been such a beautiful thing to see that and to empower our kids and to make them feel that they belong here, that they have
Right.
purpose. And I know that they obviously have so much more purpose than loading or unloading the dishes, obviously. But I know that a lot of our teens these days are really struggling with just feeling like they matter and feeling like they have purpose. And this is a great place to show them that.
Absolutely. Because eventually, you know what, mamas, you're listening, and maybe you're like me, you have a 3-year-old or maybe a sweet little baby that's breastfeeding on you as we speak, as we talk. But someday those little ones will become teenagers. In our household, we have my husband's daughter. She lives with us full time and she's 14 now. And I became her stepmom when she was 9. So I've gotten to see her progression and her growth. And it's amazing how routine in her life has really set her up and fueled her up for just this confidence that she now feels in herself. And, I think a word that sometimes as moms that we're scared of is control. Control has a lot of loaded meanings behind it. And sometimes because maybe we've had parental figures, our own parents in our lives that were controlling, and I think I see that a lot, that term married with routine a lot. And routines are going to control my children. But no, I think you've shown that it's like a beautiful space for growth for them
Yeah.
as well. And to bring back that sense of freedom, actually, like in your household by establishing a routine that you all can count on.
Yeah. It does seem counterintuitive because
Yeah.
you would think like schedule routine that feels very rigid, but there's so much freedom. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much freedom. Once you get that in place, you have more time to do things because your stuff is getting done when it's supposed to get done. And oh my goodness, it's amazing.
It is
Yeah.
awesome. It is awesome. And, to bring our episode to a close, because it's already just been so packed full of knowledge. I'm over here like half taking notes as I'm talking. I want to know what you would say, Laura, to a mom who's like, okay, Laura, all right, I've got you. Like, I see the benefits of a routine. I am very much more clearly now able to see the challenges that I may have to work through, but I'm ready. I'm good. I'm like, I want to work more through a routine. But what if they get to a point where they just feel stuck? Like, say a mom establishes a new routine, or she's going to set out and do one now. What would you say that parents should look out for in order to know if they need to adjust their routine or not? Like,
Mm,
how do they know it's working for them?
yeah. So a few things. Um, I'll try to be quick. Always
Okay.
be quick to give yourself grace. I think
Mm,
that what I see is the number one pitfall is that people set something up and then it doesn't go exactly how it's planned, or someone gets the flu or COVID or whatever, and then everything falls apart and we never go back to it. And that doesn't mean it was working. That means life happened, and that's okay. Like, we can start again tomorrow and jump back in. Um, as you're going through your routine, like say your morning routine, you figured out what you want that to look like. And I like to envision like the ideal morning routine. What would that look like? Where would I be? What would I be doing? And really lay out all those pieces, and then just take one thing at a time, right? And once you get that established, then is there anything that needs to tweak? Like, okay, I realize I'm getting up at 5:30, and really maybe I need to get up at 5:25 because that'll give me 5 extra minutes. So you can just kind of tweak and move things around as is. Once you figure out something that might work, it's not set in stone. Like, that's the joy of it. You get to tweak it and continue to make it better and continue to make it so that it feeds yourself and your family and really gives you life.
wow. I don't know about any other mom on this podcast right now, but I just feel like I took a big just sigh of relief. Like, oh, wait, you mean like routines aren't so rigid and set in stone? I can move them around. Like, I love that your first little piece of advice there was to give yourself grace, because we truly cannot give ourselves, I think, enough as moms. And, freely given, freely received, right? It's like the Lord gives us that grace, but we've got to receive it. We've got to allow it to be established almost as a routine in our own hearts. I feel, right, is a routine of grace. Like, allow that to become a routine that you do every single day, and even assess yourself. Like, I'm feeling this just right now. Like, I need to set up a time, I feel, to ask myself, where do I need to give myself more grace during this day? And where can I be less judgmental of myself and of my children too? Because Lord knows this is their first time around the sun, and they're trying to figure it all out as we go as well. And so, Laura, I'm just so inspired. I'm so thankful that it's amazing in just this short little time how much encouragement you've given us, and some real, I feel, tactical and tangible steps to practically go about establishing a routine in our own house. But say there's a mama here listening today that's like, I love it, but I want more. I love what Laura's talking about. I want to connect with her. I want to see how she can help me with my own customized plan. What would be the best way for a mom to reach out and connect with you?
Yeah. So my website is mamasystems.net, MAMASYSTEMS. And I on there have the free chore e-guide that you were talking about that helps you kind of create that beauty. And that's for any age, really.
It's
Um, just so that you can see how you can start implementing that even with young little people at home. And I would be honored to hop on a call with you and see how we can work together to create peace in your home.
Amen. Amen. I couldn't give that chore guide a big enough endorsement because it really is something now that's like a staple in our house. And my children may not fully love it right yet, but I have the guidance that it's given us, and it is amazing how it does empower parents, but also children as well. And so thank you so much for following the Lord's leading and creating something like that. And most of all, I just want to thank you so much for this time and space that you carved out of your day, and you made time to be here with us today. I'm just so, it's been such a privilege to have you on here, Laura. Thank you.
Oh, I feel so honored. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And every mama listening, no worries about the spelling of any of Laura's resources or her website. I'm going to make sure that I put that in the show notes below. So all you have to do when you're done listening is to go ahead and scroll down, and you can find the link right there. Again, ladies, remember that you are beautiful, and give yourself some grace today. When you stop this episode, I want you to do a quick assessment and ask yourself and ask the Lord, reveal to me, where have I been just a little too hard on myself? Where have I listened to the voice of the world, or maybe some naysayers, in a space where I need to listen to you, God? Be bold, be courageous, ask yourself that question, and give yourself that grace today. And if you need that constant reminder that you are enough and that you are worthy and that you are beautiful, well, come on back to the Energized Mama podcast, because I'd be so happy to remind you. Thank you again for listening to another episode. And mamas, I look so forward to connecting with you on a future episode. God bless, and know that you are loved.
Hey, girlfriend. Yes, mama, I'm talking to you. I have a question for you. Do you wish that there was a way to stop feeling emotionally drained by your life as a mom of littles? Or how about have more energy for your husband without constantly feeling physically exhausted? I know what it feels like to want more from your life than just being a mom. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed with where to begin to stop the stress in my everyday life, and to have absolutely no idea what healthy habits to implement in my own home that'll actually make a difference. I know what it feels like to be totally lost and how to create a realistic and sustainable plan that works for me and not everyone else. And just to basically think, I just can't be energetic while I parent a household full of littles that demand so much of me. And, well, at least one that doesn't rely on either coffee for energy or wine to de-stress. Am I right? Let's take a moment and imagine if you no longer felt completely exhausted at the end of your day. What if you had the time to go on dates with your husband, and you had the energy to give yourself some much needed me time, and you had easy to implement systems and strategies that would allow you to be that energetic and vibrant mama that you want to be, all while still raising your kids the way you want? Well, I have great news for you. That's why I created the More Energy Method, a customized blueprint to clear your chaos and bring back more energy into your everyday life. It's where I teach you to decrease stress while increasing your energy. Win-win. You'll be able to stick with this super simple plan, tailor-made for you, mama, that will establish new healthy habits that'll unlock energy without taking away focus from your kids or require huge commitments of time. You'll walk away with crystal clear clarity of exactly what to focus on, with a plan that'll help you know exactly how to do it, and the confidence as a woman, wife, and mother to make the changes you need to and to keep them for good. So if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and exhausted the moment you wake up, and instead trade that in for feeling rejuvenated throughout the day and go to bed satisfied, even as a busy mom of littles, then head right now to energyformoms.com and grab hold of my Blast Off to Summer special, where you will get $40 off. Did you know that the average cost of drinks on a date night is $40? Hey, consider that my gift from me to you and your husband, mama. Now, this offer expires July 31st, so don't miss out. Head on over to energyformoms.com. It's time to lose the stress while gaining yourself back and have endless amounts of energy for yourself, for your husband, and a life beyond just your littles.